small amount of slides that I'm going to run through about driver engagement, and it does follow on and it linked in so closely with what I've just spoken about. Traditionally, transport companies have used telematics to track the movement of vehicles. And as you all know, and what you've seen today, the technology has evolved. Some of the new functionality that Steve were showing earlier on, and Ellis, and providing fleet and operations managers a much more sophisticated view of how vehicles have been driven. Drivers need to be monitored, measured and ranked against the specific behaviours, and some of which you would have seen this morning, some on my previous slides. This creates a clear picture of how everybody is driving and whether we need to do training, what the key elements are for improvement, and also actually hopefully allow us to set fairly what some of the targets that we've spoken about today. So the objective of good driver engagement should be to help the driver. And I've put that in bold because I think sometimes that gets missed. Quite often do I see, I suppose, just the way some of the drivers are spoken to, and then obviously hopefully improve performance as well. And it goes back to the question that Phil asked earlier, is just making sure that actually everybody is aware of what they're being measured on, how it works, and helping them visually with as much information as possible. It is resistance to change that we all come across, and I think if we do that in the first place, that does help no end. A well-structured engagement plan, so it ties in with what I've just spoken about, needs to be in place, and making sure that everybody's spoken to. Now, whether that's in a position to speak to every driver, we all know sometimes that's not realistic, but as long as that information is sent down and delivered in the right way, then that's essential. So a clear communication channel must be agreed in terms of daily and weekly reporting. And what I mean by that is someone going to be debriefed every day, every week, every month? And quite often I see a lot of confusion here where the message isn't clear, and you might speak to someone and go, well, I'm not sure whether I was meant to be debriefed yesterday, last week, or is it every month? And I think that's really, really vital from the outset, that everybody is clear. And you know what? You might not be in a position every day to debrief the driver. It takes time. Or actually you just look at a smaller certain amount, subsection of information, and then on a weekly basis you look at everything. And what I've also found is really, really important is background. So what's happened so far? What work have we done? Because quite often we'll start to engage with people and there's no background information. They don't understand what's happened and the journey you've had to get to the point where you are now you're talking to them. And then the key bit is why change. So what's the reason behind the parameters? What are we going to use? And the other bit is quite often showing them the reports beforehand. So, quite often I've put examples up with people so actually they know what they're going to be looking at. So it's not a surprise on day one. And also making sure the information is visible around the sites. Now, hopefully some of you will be familiar with some of our driver performance reports. Putting those up weekly, making sure they're clear so that people, when they start on a Monday morning or whatever the nominated day is, actually they can see how they're performing, whether that be in a group league table or overall just as a site. And will the drivers be debriefed by exception? So that's a key bit. That obviously can come into it as well, making sure that keep management involvement down to a minimum. If so, then don't forget the high-performing drivers. As I said in my previous slides, quite regularly I do see that, and I'm quite passionate about that because I don't think the good drivers necessarily get the right level of pat on the back, I suppose, is one way of putting it. And I suppose a really key point, engagement process is not just about the drivers. It's the operational management as well. And it comes back to the slides that I've started to go through on the change management session. It's the same information, making sure that everybody understands how everything works and what people are being measured on. And it really is surprising how much I see that is not communicated across the board. Quite often I'll go to places where someone says, well, I have no idea about that, and they do a key shift role. They've got people work for them, actually debrief drivers. So hopefully this will ensure the investment is targeted where it'll have the most impact. And I've put there again, displaying posters. I can't stress the importance enough of getting information up visually so that people see it. You know, I've been to many places where there's nothing. You walk in and there's absolutely no information at all. Others, I won't name a customer, but I went to a place in East London recently and I walked in and there's all of the reports up, all the drivers are walking in, they're all discussing it. It's really, really engaging. And then training. As I mentioned before, it's not a one-off activity. It needs to be an ongoing training plan. Make sure that behaviour issues have been identified and they get addressed. So a very similar slide to what I put through last time. So we've got the Microlise benefits team for support and guidance at the very top. And then the depot level engagement. You know, we meet with the depots. We make sure we understand what the data looks like, help them understand that. Now, we never turn around and say, you must use this, you must use that. We'll help you understand what the information looks like and interpret it. And then from there, provide a set of settings and work through any of the system configuration. And all the way through, we'll help you through this and support this. And I suppose a key bit is making sure the depot appoints an owner of the system. And I mentioned it last time. It's vitally, vitally important. I can't stress the importance of that enough. And then administration stroke fuel champion. You know, if there's a nominated person at each site, it really, really makes life so much easier. The system can be maintained. If there's drivers that need to go into different groups, or there's drivers that leave, drivers that come on, and anything along those lines, making sure there is someone that's responsible for that. Because if there's not, the administration of the system will just unfortunately start to not be in the best form. And then depot management, so depot champion, to make sure the reports are required and they're subscribed to the right people. Again, it's all about that administration. People leave, you know, people still getting reports every week for the last 6 months because somebody's left, making sure there's somebody there that will look after that. And then driver engagement, and we've briefly touched on that already. Making sure we educate drivers in what we're looking at, the new settings, and making sure they understand what we're measuring them on. And then going forward, having a plan in place to make sure we continually review what we're looking at, what we're measuring, making sure it is correct, making sure everybody understands it, and then if there's any additional training as well. I've put some key driving behaviours here for evaluation to start off with. You know, I won't read through them all now. Hopefully, they're all fairly obvious actually. Making sure that we monitor all of these, understand how they're being measured, what they're being used, how they're being used, and from that, then making sure the system is configured in the right way. And then I've put just a driver engagement benefits up. I mean, the first bit for me is people. So it allows the individuals to take ownership of their driving style and create better relationships, hopefully, through the good communication. And then hopefully through all of this engagement. And I suppose the key thing to look at here is looking at what we're measuring on the grades and hopefully improving those. Fuel efficiency will come behind that. And the key bit is making sure you sustain what you've put in place. And again, I feel like I'm kind of stating the obvious with some of these, but it's surprising how much you don't see it. You need to be able to go, right, okay, we're in a position where that can keep going. And then hopefully you've got the responsible side, reduction in speeding, reduction in any of these associated events, harsh braking and so on. So there's a safety element as well. Yeah, hopefully going through all of this, you drive good change and then you get the benefits from the system as well. And as I say, the three of us are around. There are a very high number of you here today that I've done work with personally. And the three of us will support. And that can just be an odd visit or a call. So thank you very much.